Okay, we are back in round 3. Our opponent did not know we had removal, but without knowing that, it seems like the best option is not to attack, just because then you can survive for one extra turn by blocking one of the 3/3s. Maybe our opponent was trying to bluff having removal, in which case we'd have to maybe want to save back a blocker, but we are getting saplings every turn to block with, so it's not. I'm not sure that's valid. So yeah, I think that was just a mistake on our opponent's part, but we've certainly made plenty of our own. This opponent I happen to see on the scoreboard has won every game so far, so it's probably a really impressive deck. I'm okay if we end up going 2-1. I'm perfectly happy with that, but I'm certainly going to play to win. I'm going to go ahead and pause until our opponent shows up. Alright, and our opponent's back. So we've got 1-drop, 4-drop. That's probably fine. Our opponent's being friendly. That's nice. And our opponent is on the play. This is 2 drops in a row that I've gone pretty much mono green, which only fits because I really like dinosaurs. Okay, so we've got mana enough. It would probably be okay if we drew nothing but spells for the rest of the game. Okay, white could be artifacts, white could be giants, white could be rebels. White-black is interesting. I think the only real overlap is rebels, but could certainly be whatever. That's an awful lot of swamps, given that we only have 5 or so. Anti-snitch, that's a big dude. Alright, so we're going to have dinosaurs for days. I don't think I'm willing to block with a Thalid, because then we will be able to get a Sapperling next turn that we can block with. So I'm willing to take 3 damage to keep the Thalid alive. Our opponent could have another Prowl creature, though. Meadowbone. Alright. Thankfully, Imperiosaurs are huge. You have to pick these because you can only cast Imperiosaur with basic lands, which is part of why I like doing decks with very few colors in this format, is there are rewards to do so. I don't really like if you get some sweet bombs, then okay, splash them, but otherwise it's not necessarily worth just going blindly 4-color or 5-color control. I really like having consistency provided by just a very small number of colors, so they're much more castable. Also, well, like in Ravnica and Return to Ravnica and all those sets, your multicolored cards are your most powerful ones most often. The interesting thing is that in this set, multicolor is not really a thing. So you, a lot of times your most powerful cards are monocolor. So it can be as good to just, sorry, I'm trying to play while I'm talking. It can be as good to just play 1 color and use the good stuff. You're not necessarily sacrificing power. Alright, so I could play Masked Admirers and trade with Meadowbone, or I can play Imperiosaur. I like just having 1,000,000 power on the board, so I will do that. Again, I will pretend like I have the -1/-1 card. Making our opponent discard is nice. Unless there's some kind of reanimator plane, which would surprise me. Well, that's kind of a reanimated creature, but only if it's in play. Okay, Death Rattle's a problem. Our opponent will have the bats to sacrifice, so yeah, this is a huge issue. So we can't even just Death Rattle. Our opponent will probably sacrifice them, block with the Meadow Boon in order to just buff all of his guys, but I feel like we have to get in at some point. We can force our opponent to regenerate at some point by using Death Rattle on the vampires. That would tap it, but it's not really what we want. I'm going to go ahead and get the Dust Wasp out. Okay, so we can double block Anti-Snitch if we wanted. That would leave 9 damage coming through. Or we can just chump block. If we chump block, we'll be able to double block next turn, so we may as well do that. Okay, so we'll take 7, go to 6. Okay, yeah. That's difficult. Our opponent can only let one of these through out of all 3 of these. So I think we want to go ahead and get in with all 3. We can kill one opponent bat, but that still lets only one go through, so that's not enough. So I guess we might need to save this back to block the imp. Okay, we could use a removal spell right now on the vampire to make him waste his last no, we can't, because our opponent is sacking both of those. So the removal shield is already in place, and he's got another one if he needs it. I could just kill the last bat directly. Yeah, that does the same thing. That lets me take 4 and block the imp. That's actually not terrible. It means that the vampire will be unable to regenerate. So we're using our only removal spell on a 2/2 bat, but that means that our opponent cannot just proliferate bats for the rest of the game. Skeletal Vampire is a really sweet card and very difficult to deal with. Thankfully, this is an imp and not like a bat something or anything crazy like that. Alright, you've triple regenerated. We got it. Alright, if our opponent has removal, Dusk Wasp dies and we just lose. That said, attacking for both is very difficult for him because we would have lethal unless he's got blockers or removal. And if he did attack with both, I could just trade for one of them at least. Skeletal Vampires is his only real safe attack. And again, he might need to save it to chump. Or block the Dusk Wasp. This game is surprisingly close given how terrifying his stuff he's done so far is. Okay, so he's going all for it. Do I double block to kill the Snitch? I don't think that I do. I think I keep the Thallid in case I need it. If nothing else, I can block for one more turn, and I'm not surviving more than one, so. Okay, so Moldervine Cloak saves me. Alright, that's also lethal. We need to make this a 3/3. This is why we saved the Thallid around. I was thinking Moldervine Cloak, but Bone Splitter works as well. So, unless our opponent has a removal spell or a flash creature in hand, our opponent loses. Oh. Ha! Totally faked me out. Okay, that was lucky. So what do we need? There's not a ton we can do against the Skeletal Vampire. Not a ton at all. So we could try to Ravenscrime it before it comes out. I think we're better off just being aggressive. Okay, so we are the only person that has taken a game off for our opponent. Actually, Executioner's Capsule... opponent's got white cards, it's probably worth it. You know, our opponent's name is Solemn Dawn, which sounds, you know, like something terribly dramatic and fantasy-based, but it could also be just somebody named Dawn, which, if so, is a kind of clever play on words. Unfortunately, we cannot keep this, though our opponent did. Yeah, this is actually a good hand, though. Search for Tomorrow versus Thallid. I think we play the Search for Tomorrow first. Then Dusk Wasp, then Germinator, and Thallid, because the Search for Tomorrow should be in. Alright, so super aggressive. But this is a very good hand from us. This is a very good turn one at least, rather. So Search for Tomorrow can get us our swamp. We already have double forest, which is sufficient. So looking good. These are near perfect turn 1 and 2s. Our opponent does not know that we don't have a real 3. But if we draw a land, we'll be able to play 2 spells on turn 3 as well, which I won't argue with. Especially since our opponent didn't have anything. Okay, so we cast a spell. Search for Swamp, put into play. Having a land here would be really nice. But I'll take the Germinator. It blocks Face Vaulter. And it starts ticking up. So does Thallid, but it's obviously better to have a 3-drop in play. I do really like having Echo Encourage here, especially since our opponent didn't see it last game. Okay, so we have to sacrifice a creature. That's fine. Okay, so do we play the creature we're more happy to, more okay if it dies, or the Imperiosaur? I think it's very reasonable that our opponent could just have another Warren Weirding. So I'm going to go ahead and play the creature that we can get back. It nicely blocks Face Vaulter, and Face Vaulter might just chump it anyway, no matter which one we have. If we draw a land, we get to Thallid and Imperiosaur. Okay, so our opponent is stuck on lands. Now is our chance. Okay, so we can't actually Thallid Imperiosaur because it was not a forest. But that's okay. No tricks. Okay, well that's a pain. We can still probably take out in combat with Echo Encourage, or just Imperiosaur. Next turn we'll have some scary creatures in play between the 3 of these, so it's alright. Our opponent has a ton more cards in hand than we do, but our opponent may still be stuck on lands. Our opponent says it's the first time she's played this card. Seems pretty average. I'm saying it's really interesting. It's been played against me every round, because I think it has. Alright, next turn we're definitely getting in with attackers. Our opponent sided in Test of Faith against us. That's interesting. That seems good. All right, so we get our Wasp. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and attack with everything. Our opponent almost certainly doesn't have a trick, and I'm willing to trade Echo Encourage for Face Vaulter. Especially since Face Vaulter would otherwise be able to... or Moss Dog would otherwise be able to be tapped. Right, so I'll go ahead and take the trade, which lets us play the Thallid instead of the Masked Admirers. Gets 8 damage in. That's pretty good. Okay. So, again, our opponent has 6 cards in hand, but darn. Finally got something out. That said, our board position is still aggressive, so we're looking pretty good. Awesome. I had got Auntie in another draft, but I didn't have enough goblins to make it really good. I played it, but it wasn't super good. Okay. I'm tempted to bluff and just attack with a Thallid, but no, that's a bit too ambitious, and the 1 damage doesn't necessarily matter that much. So we'll play the Masked Admirer. They're all like, "Ooh, we like you, Auntie. You're very impressive. We admire you." Okay, so their opponent is 6, it would still take a lot for our opponent to survive very long. This game is definitely working out much better for us than the previous one. That said, if our opponent got Skeletal Vampire, we would all of a sudden be in a tight spot. Okay, that's a very good way to buy time. Though we get to attack for 8, which is lethal. So... oh, okay. It was cast so that these two creatures don't get tapped. Oh, it says any creatures don't untap. Okay. I misunderstood what that card did. That makes sense now. So, our opponent got in a couple of free attacks and mostly just bought time. That could easily have been really scary if... that card is better than I thought because it was all creatures. I thought it was basically Frost Breath for an extra mana, but no, that is definitely better than I thought. Okay, so another token generator. Pretty nice token sub-theme. Also, our opponent has some cool interactions with goblins. So, our opponent could make a 3/3 to block our flyer. Our opponent has no good answers to our 3 power cards. I guess the rogues can be blocked and regenerated, but our opponent's going to have to make some unfavorable blocks in order to stay alive, so I think I'm just going to go all in. I'm willing to lose Thalids, especially since I can take 1/1 off of that Thalid before death. When I was a kid, I definitely did all Thalid stuff at sorcery speed, and I liked Thalids, but it was certainly not amazing. Okay, so we'll get 4 damage through. That's still okay. Our opponent will sacrifice 1 here. We'll regenerate 1 with Mad Auntie. Right now, we get 3 damage there. But we kill Marsh Flitter, trading with it. 1 rogue dies. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have attacked with the Thalids. That may have been incorrect. It did let the Admirers through. Our opponent is at 3. We have an aggressive hand. Oh, our opponent forgot to regenerate. That's a really unfortunate thing for our opponent. That may have been enough to make a big difference. Okay, Amaral Scout is really good. This is the guy that I was talking about that is the best Rebel Tutor. Okay, so our opponent will be able to tap to block and regenerate with the Goblin. Okay, so this Rebel Tutor is going to be a pain. I'm just attacking with these. Our opponent can definitely block the Masked Admirers, but we'll be able to get it back. Oh wow, our opponent's willing to lose the Scout. I was going to say, if our opponent did not regenerate the Goblin, then it could kill the Moss Dog, but I don't think that's the plan. Okay, so I need to play that Forest in order to be able to get the Admirers, just to get enough green mana. Imperiosaurs may just get there. Thankfully, I don't think our opponent will be an Imperiosaur loser. Yep. It's that kind of day, the day where I make bad jokes. Okay. Are you our opponent could... Yep, I was going to say our opponent could do that, and that might be worth it. Yeah, it's better because it kills our sapling. Interesting. I definitely agree with that line of play, but... a flyer will be hard for our opponent to deal with. It'd have to be tapped down every turn. I could Masked Admirer first just to see what we drew, but I think this is better. Okay, our opponent can't regenerate both, so I think it's worth trading a token for one of our creatures. And our opponent's down to 2 cards in hand, so all this card advantage stuff is not, is just keeping her alive. It's not getting her ahead, necessarily. So are you double blocking? Oh, no, because you can't double block with Auntie, because I'll put her first and she can't regenerate herself. So we do get one of the rogues for free. That's nice. Okay. I think I actually want the Dusk Wasp more. So I'll go ahead and play it. I'm not going to suspend it just because that won't matter until it's... Or that won't come into play until it's late enough to probably not matter. So this is a very difficult creature for our opponent to block, so we're going to get that. Tutor? No. Oh, Cloudgoat Ranger. Cloudgoat Ranger is another good one. That lets our opponent have a flying creature, but if so, it would die. And it cannot fly if it chumps with those creatures. So I'm going to go ahead and play Masked Admirers now to see what card we draw. Alright, Valid Germinator is fine, but kind of irrelevant at this moment. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So our opponent doesn't quite have lethal, but is definitely getting in that neighborhood with crackbacks. So, especially since we've got Germinator. Okay, so opponent probably be doing some level of chump blocking now. That's good. The chump blocking makes the Cloudgoat Ranger much less scary because it will no longer be able to become a 5/5. Okay, probably just going to use that to trade for the Imperiosaur. That makes sense. Okay, so we'll take out 2 soldiers and the Ranger. Definitely putting a soldier first because it cannot be regenerated. So our opponent is no longer quite so near having lethal crackbacks. And again, we keep presenting threats, which is nice. One nice thing is our opponent can't easily kill the Masked Admirers because it can come back, and it's hard for our opponent to win that game. Killing the Moss Dog, though, oh no, here we go. Skeletal Vampire is the one card that would get our opponent out of most situations. Moss Dog is no longer as good as it was because it won't save us here. Okay, attacking with the Imperiosaur doesn't matter because the rogue can block it and it can regenerate. Yeah, all of a sudden we went from about to win to losing just because of this one card. Card is super good. Okay, having both Cloud Goat Ranger and Skeletal Vampire and Mad Auntie, it's tough. I don't know a real good way around it. We don't have like a ton of extra removal or anything. I could check if I have a Wrathy Trapper or something. Our opponent should be tapping my Wasp so that she can get in with the Vampire and the Bats for like 3 extra damage. Yeah, there we go. If I attack with everything, my opponent will get to attack with everything back. Will my opponent have to chump block? Yeah. Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Our opponent will be making 1 extra bat, which I've already marked out. Wait, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with the additional bat. But our opponent can only let the Germinator through, so they have to block 3 creatures. 1 block is free, the other 2 are chumps, so we stay alive if we attack with everything. Oh wait, we can't attack with Spore Sower. Alright, so it's not worth attacking. No. I do not believe. The blue bounce spell would actually be amazing here because it would bounce all bats or all rogues, or all goblin rogues, so it would be a nice answer to a lot of these hijinks. I don't think we drafted any of them, but I'm going to double check. If we did, I'll probably just grab it because that's our best answer to the scariest card. I would definitely sideboard into blue just for that. Not positive what cards we have that could save us from this spot, but I'm definitely going to give them a shot to let us. And if our opponent is too defensive, we could, break through. Okay, so our opponent likely has nothing. Alright, drawing lands every turn is not enough. If our opponent taps our flyer here, I think we just don't have any attacks. Okay, I think I'll just wait. Our opponent will tap that when attacking. But trading, attacking in order to kill one, that is not sufficient. Now, I can use Germinator to make the Dust Wasps survive a turn. That's interesting. Wow, that's pretty good. Okay, we cannot possibly block enough of that, actually. So, tell my opponent good game, and concede. Okay, so we do not have the bounce spell. Petals of Insight is good, but maybe not enough. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else to side in here. Worm Harvest might be too slow. Maybe that should just be a a creature that can attack. And it seems okay against goblins, though. Just not the vampires. Alright, so we will go ahead and play first. We definitely need that. Dust Wasp is not ideal. We would need to draw 2 lands in the first couple of turns. I think we need to mulligan that. Yeah, that's definitely way worse. So maybe I should have kept it. Our opponent did mulligan, though. So I will keep 5 cards and hope that that's enough. Okay, so our opponent, if our opponent attacks, we assume that she's got the same thing that she had last time. Nope. Just making us sacrifice a creature. Could be worse. Okay, I will probably trade Thallid with Face Falter if I can. Yep. Through the power of Echoing Courage. Just because otherwise our opponent would be able to regenerate every turn. It's really hard to get rid of. Tempted to attack into it just to make my opponent sweat, but I'm probably just way better off not being aggressive. Opponent says that she thought we might have had it, but it's probably a fair trade. Yeah, definitely could have been much worse for either side. Oh, there's the answer to Imperiosaur after this turn, so we get the 1 attack at least. And we can kill Mad Auntie. Or Wrathy Trapper. Let's go ahead and get an attack in, we'll see. Actually, I think I will go ahead and play Masked Admirer and save, continue to have the choice later. When things are kind of stable, it's generally best to just develop your board. Okay, so we get to kill 2 things. Alright, that's non-black, so less options than we hoped. Marsh Flutter, that's rough. Especially because it comes with 3 goblins. So we'll go ahead and kill Mad Auntie because it makes the rogue so much better. Okay, so our opponent sacrifices Auntie. That's not very nice of him. Or her. I'll go ahead and get a 1-1 out. Probably won't be able to attack in. Okay, chump blocks, that's nice. I like reducing the amount of creatures my opponent has. I believe that the Skeletal Vampire costs 6, and our opponent definitely missed a lane drop at 3. So we may have some time. Hopefully enough. Okay, Murderous Redcap. Murderous Redcap. Murderous Redcap is super good. So I'll sacrifice a sapling to save the Germinator. That was going to happen whichever way the cookie crumbled. Whether she targeted Admirers or Germinator or whatever. Our opponent has attacks here, but we get them back. Also, our opponent cannot use her tapper this turn, which is nice. opponent can trade the red cap for the Masked Admirer, or the sacrifice the rogue to let the Marsh Flitter trade. I'm okay with either of those. I think probably trading the red cap to kill the Admirer and the Thallid is probably best, but we'll see what our opponent chooses. Our opponent may also chump block with a rogue, which would be nice. I guess getting 5 damage through is also definable as nice. Okay, so our opponent seems to be taking that line, probably going to block here. Oh. Maybe letting the Admirers through. I'm fine with that. Sad that we lose the Thallid because we're going to get a 1/1 next turn. But we still have 3 good creatures. We have an Executioner Capsule if our opponent plays anything white. Five cards in hand. I'm betting that the Vampire is there somewhere. May just be a handful of 4 and 5 drops. Okay, Death Rattle is very good. That makes it so that if our opponent double blocks, we can kill the Marsh Flitter. Or we could just... Because our opponent could block Marsh Flitter on Germinator and sacrifice Galvan Rogue, so we'd be trading that for that, which is not great. Maybe I just attack with the Admirers. Death Rattle is probably best against the Trapper. Yeah, we'll see about that. I would check. Oh, no, no. Let's go ahead and kill the Trapper. I think that's I think that's worth it. We can see green was very open. Nobody else that we played was playing it, which means that the Death Rattles were viable against every creature. Alright. Meadow Boon is good. The 1/1 counter makes the red cap better, but our opponent cannot tap down our 5/5, so there's that at least. But yeah, Meadow Boon is very good with a red cap. I'll actually go ahead and kill Meadow Boon now, just so that we it doesn't get a free block. All of these attacks are good, though. Red cap can trade its full round for Germinator, I guess. I think that's probably okay. Because it means that we get 3 damage through. Okay. Could use Germinator to get an extra damage through on itself, but I think I'm better off just having that 1/1. Okay, I'm curious why this is better. I guess it's the same. Okay. I'm going to save the Shell Dweller so that we can get Masked Admirers back. A defender is not what we need here. Alright. Our opponent is 1 mana from the vampire. Probably has, yeah, I was going to say, probably has Cloud Goat Ranger. Yep, that's tough. Do a trade for red cap. I don't think so. Okay, our opponent's doing the same trick. I would have probably triple blocked. Okay, so if this is vampire, then we're again in dire straits. We are out of dinosaurs. Oh, our opponent's down to 18 seconds, so yeah, it is vampire, but we almost certainly just win. Sometimes time is on your side. Okay, so our opponent has 7 flying damage to send at us. We'll go ahead and do this to thin the deck. It'll also buy some time, but really I don't think that's going to matter. Okay, so we won on time. Unfortunately, it looks like we would have lost this round otherwise, but I will take the pack and the QP. I hate to say it. I'm apologizing to my opponent. I hate winning that way, but sometimes you win that way. And our opponent got some sweet cards at least. Alright, thanks for watching.